Özgecan Aslan 19 yaşında. Tarsus'ta okuyan, Mersin'de okuyan bir üniversite öğrencisi. Saat 8 gibi bir alışveriş merkezinden çıkıp kendi evine gitmek üzere bir minibüse biniyor. Fakat minibüsçü onu evini götüreceği yerde başka bir yola sapıyor ve kendisine tecavüz etmeye kalkıyor. Özgecan Aslan'ı bu minibüs şoförü aynı zamanda babası ve bir arkadaşıyla birlikte hunharca öldürüyorlar. Kadın cinayetleri sadece Türkiye'de yaşanan bir şey değil.
George Chen, James Hong, and David Wong were University of California, Santa Barbara students that were stabbed to death by Elliot Rodger in his apartment. Rodger then left and drove to nearby UCSB's sorority house, where he began firing randomly and shot and killed Catherine Kruber and Veronica Weiss, also UCSB students. He continued his killing spree at a local deli where he shot and killed Christopher Michaels Martinez. During this time, 14 others were also injured. Prior to the mass shooting, Elliot Rodger had released a document titled My Twisted World and uploaded a video describing his motivation for the shooting. He described his outrage at having been rejected by women and his hatred of women and also of men who were sexually active. Rodger believed that he was entitled to women and women's bodies, going on a violent rampage murdering women for having rejected him and killing men because he felt that they had stolen women from him. We started looking at hashtag #yesallwomen, which was a hashtag that emerged on Twitter after the Isla Vista shooting in Santa Barbara, and it was a space where women were sharing their experiences of harassment, of violence against women, of everyday sexism, institutionalized sexism. We found that there are a lot of common themes in the hashtag sendeanlat, which started a year later in Turkey after the murder of Özgecan Aslan. And so this was, again, this hashtag was a place where women were a space where women were similarly sharing their experiences of harassment, violence, and everyday sexism. And Turkey's use of social media, and Twitter specifically, is a really interesting thing to look at. The usage for political movements and discussion was huge, which makes sense because looking at Turkey, they have Europe's largest youth population. Almost half of Turks in urban areas don't trust conventional media, and so for them, the use of social media, the access to social media, is especially important. In 2011, when Twitter first rolled out with the Turkish language version of Twitter, the usage exploded. If we rank countries based on the number of hours people spend on social media, Turkey comes in 4th. The US comes in 11th.
Turkey's biggest achievement these days is always finding a place or two, or more, in worldwide trend section of Twitter. Ridiculousness.
Remember when Turkey blocked Twitter during Occupy Gezi and it was the most tweeted day ever in Turkey?
By 2013, after the Gezi Park movement, it just continued to exponentially grow. In the US, we see how the interaction between Twitter and social media and the conventional media, most notably in Black Lives Matter, and how it's been covered in the conventional media. And then also internationally, we see this with how social media was used in the Arab Spring and how that's being discussed in conventional media. At times when there are media restrictions, social media is especially important.
Twitter reports 40% surge in government data requests. Biggest requester was Turkey.
Turkey outpaces by tenfold rivals in pace to be the #1 censor on Twitter.
Importantly, when these movements are online on Twitter, it allows women to not just interact with those around them and within their geographical region, but it allows people to cross geographic boundaries and discuss these issues with people they may not have been able to have discussed these issues with before. Both the sendeanlat and yesallwomen movements brought women together, and you see that it allows women to see that there are so many commonalities and shared experiences even in places as diverse and different as Turkey and the US.
Yes, All Women changes the story of the Isla Vista massacre and creates a watershed moment in feminism.
Sendeanlat and the initiative to make Özgecan immortal.
do you say in the face of such terror? Terror that was directed against women, but also directed against terror that's a product of certain heteronormative, gendered, and racialized gendered conceptions, dominant conceptions.
The specific incident that sparked off the Yes All Women hashtag was quite close to home here.
I learned about Yes All Women through my Twitter feed, and I didn't immediately know that it was connected to the Isla Vista killings. And it wasn't until I did a bunch of research and sort of saw how those things were connected that it really got me very fired up, because it seemed like the conversation was so big and it was so comprehensive that it was this moment where we could really be honest about toxic masculinity and how it kills women and how it kills men.
Kind of stumbled upon the Yes All Women hashtag, and there were women talking about their experiences with violence and harassment.
I was very excited that people were having such a robust conversation about these shared experiences that so many women have.
I think it was very interesting as a response, because it was so diverse for so many reasons. It was so important for so many reasons.
There were some really great tweet roundups of people talking about their experiences and showing the themes that came up over and over and over and over again about feeling unsafe after dark, about having to be very creative about the way you turn down a man if he's interested in you and you're not interested in him, about having to think really hard about what you're wearing and about how you look and how you're talking, because women are so scrutinized based on our appearance and the way that we carry ourselves. These themes really, they resonated with me because I experience them in my daily life and they affect the way I navigate the world. And so it was this really great moment of solidarity where we were all having this shared experience together about our shared experiences.
Having that as a hashtag, like not all men as a hashtag, shorthand a bunch of arguments, a bunch of discussions.
Yes All Women and Not All Men are opposed in that not all men is this reflexive need for men who are participating in that hashtag to distance themselves from rape culture, from the people who perpetrate violence against women. It was about making the problem not my problem, as opposed to Yes All Women, which was really trying to say, we are all in this together and we all have to deal with this, and someone that you know has to deal with this on a regular basis. People who are relational to you, who are women, deal with these things, and it's not a myth, it's not in our heads, it's not in your heads. These are real experiences that all women have to deal with.
I think the Yes All Women hashtag and the really the explosion of feminist and gender equality discussions and advocacy on social media is a small part of big social change.
You can work quite a lot on a bunch of little things, and it becomes quite hard to notice how much they add up.
Sendeanlat was a hashtag that is Turkish for share your story.
Sendeanlat birçok insanın aslında bir yandan rahatça ifade edebilmesini getirdi.
Sendeanlat tweetleri yani birçok kadının aslında her gün aynı durumda, benzer durumlarla, belki daha az seviyede bir şiddet ya da taciz olsa bile karşılaştığının bir kanıtı.
Erkeklerden gördükleri işte taciz, tecavüz girişimi, Sendeanlat tweetlerin içinde var. Neredeyse sözlü taciz dediğimiz şeyi yaşamayan yok. Büyürken diyeyim, deneyimlemeyen yok ne yazık ki.
And because they were able to share their own personal stories with the veil of anonymity that social media provides, they very openly did so. And I think everyone was very surprised to see that a lot of other women had also gone through this.
Suçlu olmadıkları halde suçluymuş gibi örtüp saklarlardı ta ki işte Sendeanlat'a kadar. Suskunluk sarmalı vardır iletişimde. Elizabeth Noel Newman der ki işte 70'lerde iletişim kuramları içerisinde insanlar diğer insanlardan yaşadıkları toplum içinde farklı olduğunu hissettiğinde düşüncelerinin susmayı tercih ederler ki o farklılığı ortaya çıkmasın, giderek kırılmadığı sürece bütün topluma yayılır ve karşı çıkamazlar der. Tam da böyle bir şey vardı. Sen de anlat. Şimdi bizim iletişim alanındaki çalışmalarda bizim için o yüzden önemli. Twitter çalışmalarında. Bu sarmalı kırmak üzere bir hareket.
Because women didn't have to worry about the taboos surrounding saying that they were a victim of domestic abuse or abuse of any kind, they could share their own frustrations and their own experiences having been hit or harassed or bothered or made to feel scared. And you know, the way in which women could also go online and hear stories from other women, stories that resonated with them of this type of abuse, I think gave them courage not only to tell their own story, but I think it also made women realize that they had been victims of abuse. I know that personally I had that experience as well. I never have thought of myself as a victim of abuse or a survivor. But when I began to hear other women talk about things that had happened to them, it was like, actually, yeah, that's happened to me too. Like, I've been harassed, I've been flashed, I've been made to feel scared. And so, you know, and why do we stand for that? That's not okay. And when everyone comes up and says it together, it just makes, it gives you power.
Kamuoyunun genel ilgisi de ve özellikle kadınların ve özellikle genç kadınların bu konuda artan bir duyarlılığı olduğunu tahmin edebilirdik. Ama biz bunun tam olarak nasıl olduğunu, bu duyarlılığın ne kadar gelişmiş olduğunu ve ne gibi şekiller alabileceğini Özgecan cinayetinin ardından görebildik. Çünkü beklenmedik bir şekilde çok büyük bir patlama oldu.
Kadınların tepkisi çok büyüktü. Mesela kadınlar Özgecan şahsında sadece Özgecan değil, Özgecan şahsında katledilen tüm kadınların hesabını sordu aslında.
Cinsel taciz konusunda Özgecan bize bir ivme kazandırdı.
Özgecan cinayetinde Özgecan çok saf bir kurban gibi göründü. Belki başka şiddet olaylarında, kadına yönelik başka şiddet olaylarında bazen birçok kişi o şiddet olaylarını açıklayıcı ya da meşrulaştırıcı tezler ileri sürebiliyor.
Diğer kadın cinayetinde aslında kadınlar boşanmak isterken ya da kendi hayatları üzerine karar vermeye çalışırken öldürülüyorlar. Kimisi bu yüzden de onlar çok fazla masum gözükmüyorlar. Fakat burada Özgecan'ın hem yani yaşının gençliği, üniversite öğrencisi olması, saatin belki çok erken olması ve tabii cinayetin işleniş şekli hepsi bir anda birçok insanın tepki vermesine yol açtı.
Genel kamuoyu hiçbir şekilde meşrulaştırıcı bir şey göremedi.
There was no way you could say it was her fault. She was completely innocent victim, a young student just trying to make her way home from school at night.
Tüm yargılanmaların adil bir şekilde yürütülmesi için o gün orada akşama kadar saat 7'ye kadar dava sürdü. 7'ye kadar hiçbir kadın o alandan ayrılmadı. Ve hepsinin tek dediği biz şeyde değiliz, yasta değil isyandayız. Aslında olması gereken de bu. Biz yas tutmaya başlarsak mücadelenin bir yerinden de artık ödün vermiş olacaktı. O kadınlar orada isyanlarını dile getirdiler ve sadece Özgecan'ı değil, bugüne kadar katledilen tüm kadınların hesabının sorulması için o alandaydı.
There is certainly anti-domestic violence campaigns now going on across the world, and it's an exciting time. And Özgecan became a symbol of that and of what's going on in Turkey.
Ordering a second entree, 80% because I'm worried about the delivery guy knowing I'm alone. Yes, all women.
There are no women left who don't say, okay bro, I got it, when they open the door to the delivery guy. Sendeanlat.
Shared experiences of being told not to go out alone, not to go out on the street alone, not to go out late at night, who to be with, being told what to wear or what to eat, of women being harassed, street calling, a lot shared experiences of everyday sexism. And even in these two movements, women started confessing stories of domestic violence, of gender-based violence, harassment, and it allowed a space for women to share these more personal stories and for other women to see that they weren't alone and that there were others out there who had similar experiences. More importantly, when these movements are online, on Twitter, it allows women to not just interact with those around them and within their geographical region, but it allows people to cross geographic boundaries and discuss these issues with people they may not have been able to have discussed these issues with before.
Sosyal medya Türkiye'de çok etkili bir şekilde kullanılıyor. Uzun süredir böyle.
İşte interneti daha çok kullanan gençler hedef kitle. Twitter yine gençlerin çok kullandığı bir araç.
Twitter is an amazing tool for organizing people. I think it's terrific. I mean, it really brings us into transnational conversations.
Teknolojisiyle aslında sosyal medya en büyük etki ve ses getiren bir duruma geldi. Twitter'dır, Facebook'tur. Aslında en büyük de Twitter.
Olayın duyulmasında sosyal medyanın çok büyük bir etkisi var. Çünkü haber düşmeye başladıktan sonra tweetler başlattı bu konuyla ilgili.
Mahkemenin olacağı çağrısını biz Twitter'dan duyurduk. Bir Özgecan mahkemesi oluşacak ve bizim onu duyurmamız gerekiyor. Bir kamuoyu ve kadınların oraya ulaşmasını sağlamak açısından bu şekilde de kullanıyoruz. Yani biz sadece Twitter'ı işte sosyal medyada böyle gelişi güzel gündelik ne yaptığımız üzerinden bir Twitter paylaşımımız yok.
Twitter has enormously increased the discussion about gender equality in our society. Twitter and other social media, as I think everybody knows, it's revolutionary.
I absolutely think that Twitter is a fantastic venue to have these conversations, especially because it drives when a conversation on Twitter really explodes and it becomes this thing that many, many people are talking about. It leaves Twitter and it goes to Facebook and Reddit. It goes to the mainstream media. We end up having news stories about it on CNN where people are really talking about these conversations in substantive ways, where you're seeing tweets on mainstream television where people are talking about what some random person said because what they said was substantial and real and needed to be said. So there's a great deal of potential having these conversations on Twitter.
I mean, I think there is this wonderful way in which particular kinds of hashtags can capture the imagination, can really speak back to particular kinds of things, and allow people who might not necessarily have access to a specific kind of representation or to thinking about an idea. I think it does incredible things frequently in that way.
On Twitter, there's a very interesting dynamic in terms of who has privilege and who doesn't, because ultimately your privilege is proportionate to your followers, and you don't have to be particularly privileged in life to have a big following on Twitter.
It means that it isn't always coming from the hegemonic and for the global north and from the west. It can be coming from what is considered the periphery rather than the metropole. And I say considered. So I think that's, really, I think it's really amazing some of what the women are doing in China, what they were doing in Ukraine, what they've been doing in Sweden, in Turkey, and elsewhere. Very bold actions, and sometimes it's only a snapshot that says it all.
Burada da sosyal medyada insanların, yani belki her gün birçok göremeyeceğiniz insan, tanışamayacağınız insanla sosyal medyada karşılaşabiliyorsunuz. Ve genel olaraktan sosyal medya kullanımı hem bazen çok kötü amaçlara da varabiliyor olsa da mesela bu sendeanlat kampanyasında tam tersi bir olay olduğunu, sosyal medyanın iyi bir yönde kullanımına şahit olduk diyebilirim.
Today is the day to support each other. Come on all together. Sendeanlat, Özgecan Aslan.
I'm in favor of including all women too. We need sisterhood and support of each other dearly. Yes, all women, women of all colors.
Yes, all women need to consider taking things into our own hands and protect ourselves and each other. We are all one united sisterhood.
In both cases, women were coming together to take a stand, to say something, to do something. It also brought women into the movement. So women who were Twitter users outside of the women's movement and might not have considered themselves a part of it were seeing these tweets and starting to join in the discussion.
There's almost a sense of camaraderie. Because there has been some very serious harassment, people do look out for each other.
It's really scary to be one on the internet sometimes. And sometimes it's just scary to be a woman in general.
In terms of people getting harassed, we will tend to try and report and support each other when people have come under attack, and there has been unfortunately way too much of that.
It turns into people attacking each other, people attacking each other's character, people attacking each other's intelligence, and it really just devolves into hate speech almost.
Feminizm içinde her zaman kız kardeşlik meselesi çok önemli olmuştur başından beri. Hem batıdaki feminizmin ortaya çıkışında hem de Türkiye'de küresel düzeyde. Hani feminizmin asıl güçlü olmasının asıl nedeni, kadınların feminist harekete katılmalarının asıl nedeni orada gördükleri dayanışma duygusu olmuştur.
Yani Türkiye'de kadın hareketi zaten çok güçlü aslında. Bilmiyorum, hani diğer ülkelere baktığımız zaman da özellikle son 20 yıldır, son 25 yıldır kadınların çok fazla yaptığı kazanımlar var.
Feminist hareketin çok güçlü olduğunu söyleyebiliriz. Değişik açılardan Türkiye'deki feminist hareketin güçlü olduğunu söyleyebiliriz.
Yani özellikle 20-30 yıl öncesinin Türkiye'siyle karşılaştırdığımız zaman yani bugün aslında kadınların Türkiye'de bu noktaya gelmesinde kadın hareketinin çok önemli bir etkisinin olduğunu görebiliyoruz.
Mesela Özgecan cinayetinden önce genel durum şuydu. Belki çok büyük sokak hareketleri yoktu ama feminist söylem çeşitli şekillerde pek çok kurumda etkili olmuştu. Pek çok kuruma nüfuz etmişti. Hem medyaya, hem kamu kurumlarına, hem sivil toplum örgütlerine, sol örgütlere, partilere, sendikalara, barolara, yani aklınıza gelen her tür kamu ya da sivil örgüt içerisinde bir şekilde feminist ya da profeminist ya da feminizan duyarlılıklar, kendine feminist demese bile, kendilerini öyle adlandırmasalar bile yayılıyordu.
Many of us, we've gotten to kind of know each other through Twitter. Again, we communicate with each other. We try and support each other. We've gotten to know each other. It's just kind of a really nice thing, and it's kind of a sense of camaraderie around it.
And we can make something more beautiful out of pain and violence. These are very brave women, and there are some women who are more vulnerable than others.
Within feminism, we must acknowledge that there are ethnic groups of women and trans women who are even more unprivileged. Yes, all women.
Kurdish women started on it. Let owning up to Özgecan be a turning point.
A year ago today, I saw Yes, All Women, and it's when I knew I needed to take action.
Come on, sendeanlat. This is a rebellion. This is an uprising. No more silence. Tell your story. Enough with the keeping silence. Let's take action.
It seems that a lot of everyday people who maybe didn't even give these issues a lot of thought before have been energized, have been drawn into really fighting for equality because of that hashtag.
Yani genel olaraktan sadece çevremde duyduklarımdan, konuştuklarımdan, Twitter'da gördüklerimden bunları söyleyebiliyorum ama özellikle yani konuştuğum kadın hareketinden içinden olan insanlar, kadın hareketinin içinde olan insanların söyledikleri, Özgecan Aslan olayından sonra birçok kadının da kendilerine gelip bu konuyla ilgili, kadın cinayetleriyle ilgili olsun, genel olarak işte kadın haklarıyla ilgili olsun bir şey yapmak istediklerini söylediler. Bu yüzden de sadece yani kadın hareketindeki kadınlar değil ama kadın hareketinde olmayan kadınlar için de bir etkisinin olduğunu ve belki onları da kadın hareketinin içine çektiğini söyleyebilirim. Yani birçok insan belki ilk defa bir kadın hareketiyle kadın hakları konusunda bir şey yapmak için harekete geçmiş oldu. Birçok kadın harekete geçmiş oldu.
Getting people involved who are not necessarily involved in an issue really works the same way across all networks. You have your interests and your friends have their interests, and you kind of create this Venn diagram where you engage on the same things. But because you have created this group of people that you say are your friends or the people that you follow, you end up seeing the things that are outside of the Venn diagram as well. And there's no reason why you wouldn't give that content that is being put out by people that you trust, that you find yourself connected to, why you wouldn't give it a little bit more weight. So people who are not involved in these conversations, they see in their feed, okay, 3 or 4 people that I'm connected to are having this conversation around this thing. I think I should learn a little bit more about that. And those conversations become deeper and people become more informed. And then not only, that's not a conversation that's happening outside of you, that's a conversation that you're participating in.
A lot of the people who tweet regularly on that hashtag were not people who were involved in, feminist or gender equality activism before. It seems like that hashtag pulled a lot of people in and woke a lot of people up and got a lot of people involved.
We were definitely surprised at the reaction. We saw very quickly not only a huge amount of attention being paid on social media, but women taking to the streets. The activists that we had grown close to in our reporting had on a number of occasions tried to hold rallies and had successfully gathered like a few hundred people. But in this case, we were seeing thousands and thousands of women take to the streets, and suddenly you were seeing Özgecan's poster everywhere. She was on the television news. It was on the front page of all the newspapers.
There is an explosion of feminism on social media. It's positive, it's dynamic.
Aslında durup düşününce hani beklenebilir bir şeydi. Çünkü dediğim gibi, anlattığım gibi bir 10-15 yıldır ya da daha fazlası kadın hareketinin bu konuyu gündeme getirme çabaları aslında başarılı olmuştu.
Yes, all women, because when I'm out at night and a woman is walking alone ahead of me, I have to cross the street so she feels safe.
Sendeanlat. If a woman is walking alone in front of me, I change my route and cross the street.
And in both cases, sendeanlat and in Yes All Women, we saw men participating too. Yes, there was harassment, there was internet trolling, and this could be awful. But there were also men who took a stand, who joined in the movement, who tweeted, sent out tweets on the hashtag, beginning to participate and learning from these movements and the discussions that they were having. So even though there may be these socioeconomic, linguistic, cultural differences, men in the US and in Turkey were getting involved in both of these Twitter campaigns.
The he for she hashtag, that had a really, really big impact.
Erkekler çoğu durumda Özgecan olayında ve sonrasında biz ne yapabiliriz diye soruyorlar.
I was very hesitant to tweet on the hashtag. I felt that was a place for women and really shouldn't be men tweeting on that tag. After a few days, I had a strange fascination for what was simply harassment, and even men who weren't harassing were trying to silence the women. I saw a couple of other men tweeting on the tag, and I felt that I couldn't remain completely silent. I wanted to throw out a few words of support. So I threw out a few tweets very tentatively. I was hesitant and I didn't know how the women were going to react to me, that a man tweeting on the hashtag, but my tweet was supportive. I got very, very, very positive feedback. Many of the women who were tweeting on the tag sent me messages telling me to keep on doing it, that it was good to have a few men there supporting the tag.
Özellikle kadınların, özellikle genç kadınların kitlesel olarak bu konuyu sahiplenmeleri, sokağa çıkmaları, kampanyalar yürütmeleri, sadece kadınların da değil, kadınlara destek vermek isteyen çok sayıda erkeğin, hem örgütlerin, hem örgütlü erkeklerin hem de daha sıradan erkeklerin ortaya çıkmaya başlamaları, bunları görmek güzel oldu. Özgecan cinayetinin arkasından umut verici bir gelişme oldu bu.
Because Yes All Women will not be enough after the devastating events and outcomes of the Isla Vista killings.
Özgecan's death was not a turning point. Murders of women are still on the rise, and no one is speaking up.
These movements were exceptional and dynamic in many ways, but they also beg the question of the difference between hashtag activism and slacktivism. Does it have an impact? Does it make a change? Does a tweet make a difference, or does there need to be more done? Can you just tweet and make a difference and make a change? Just because you tweet something doesn't mean that laws or attitudes or norms are going to change. Can you tweet a revolution? it's complicated.
Just because you can do everything from your bedroom doesn't mean it's necessarily a good idea.
One of the things that I learned from watching Occupy unfold is that without concrete action that produces concrete results, eventually all you were was a conversation. And Occupy did do something in the real world. They occupied Zuccotti Park for a long time, and they absolutely changed the conversation around income to something that absolutely revolutionized the way that we talk about it. We still talk about things in terms of the 1% and the 99% because of Occupy, but they never put forth concrete steps forward. And so they never put together, there were very few concrete projects with concrete goals that came out of Occupy. And so it's very much a conversation that happened in the past that we look back on fondly.
I still believe that face-to-face contact and trust builds trust and is necessary for some kinds of actions. And that just because we've tweeted or put it on Facebook doesn't mean we've made the revolution. But just because we go into the streets also doesn't mean we made the revolution.
And if there had been a little bit more organization there about getting people on the ground, doing real things, getting a candidate on the ballot, getting people to get legislation forward, then it would have been bigger than that. And that is what these hashtags have to turn into. It's great to have these conversations. It's great to feel validated. It's great to hear and be heard. But if we're trying to solve problems through social media, eventually we have to leave the online space and move to the offline space and make things actually happen.
Yeah. The kind of more deliberate, thoughtful way that I like to engage with things doesn't always respond very well to a hashtag.
With Yes All Women, I don't see as concrete of action. I have not heard of legislation coming out because of Yes All Women. I haven't seen legislators or governors or mayors step forward and say, Yes All Women. I haven't seen anything concrete come from that. And that's difficult because rape culture is not really something that you can legislate away, as opposed to police brutality is something that you can make a lot of progress on legislatively. So they're kind of different issues, but there certainly is more that we could do to legislate in terms of rape culture. And especially in certain areas where it's really prevalent, like on campus and in the military, there are things that we can do, concrete things that we can do that can come out of Yes All Women that haven't necessarily happened yet.
In one major way, in the legislature, things are changing. Women in the parliament have been pushing for a law to toughen sentences against perpetrators of domestic violence. And that law has largely been ignored. But two things have now happened. One, we've seen an increase in women come into parliament thanks to the June 7th elections. And the second is that the law has been renamed, or the piece of legislation has been renamed Özcan's Law. And with that kind of momentum behind it, it will certainly pass. In a way, that's a big victory. But now women are asking themselves, okay, so maybe we will get tougher sentencing against men who commit acts of domestic violence, but so what? Is that going to change anything?
Ülkemizde var olan yasaları daha onların çıkaramadığını ama uygulamada bizim bir takım sorunlarımızın olduğunu söyledi. Gerçekten kadını korumaya yönelik çok güçlü, çok güzel yasalarımız var. Ama toplumda bilinç düzeyi oluşturmaya yönelik, toplumsal cinsiyet eşitliğine yönelik geri durumdayız.
If the issue of domestic violence is so deeply and culturally rooted in tradition, then it doesn't matter if a man who commits domestic violence or a woman goes to jail for 5 years or 20 years. It's not going to change attitudes. And at the heart of this issue, I think everyone realizes we need to change attitudes in Turkey that accept domestic violence. So I feel like women now are beginning to talk about how that's the next step and what can we do about that.
If your Yes All Women only includes cis white women, then it's by no means all women at all. The criticisms of Yes All Women are that it's not necessarily all women, and that the word women in itself can be problematic. But with sendeanlat, share your story too, it just becomes an invitation for people to share their experiences, anyone to share their stories and their experiences.
I was getting more and more upset that it wasn't just all women, which was the hashtag, if I remember. Because after all, the majority of people who were in the wrong place at the wrong time and murdered were men and men of color. And so it was a larger systemic, structural, cultural notion about hegemonic masculinity and whiteness and identity.
To some degree, I was quite hyper aware of the people it left out.
The biggest critique that I saw from Yes All Women was that it wasn't intersectional enough.
I'm very connected to the queer community, and people with diverse gender presentations are really important to me. I think they experience a huge amount of harassment in every circumstance of their lives, and a word like women does and doesn't always encompass those people. There were a bunch of things about race and the way it played out in that shooting and in the aftermath of the way it was discussed that wound up getting left out or only really getting quite peripheral engagement with, and I think that those conversations really needed to happen.
The critical mass of that hashtag were conversations that were happening between white women about the experience that white women have, and they didn't realize that that's the conversation that they were having. And there are some responses to Yes All Women about what we can do as women to combat rape culture and combat some toxic masculinity that really just does not apply to women of color.
It seems that not Yes All Women was not really quite right. Yes, some women more than other women. Yes, all women, but other women more.
Özgecan's case was one of well over 200 that had happened within the previous 12 months. And it was brutal, but all murders are brutal. And it was horrible and unfair, but of course all murders are horrible and unfair. But I think this one struck a nerve because she was very beautiful, because she was young and a student, because she was just trying to make her way home, and she was viciously attacked.
Bu olay aslında hiç farklı bir olay değil. Aslında her gün birçok kadının başına gelen bir olay. Sadece medyada çok yer aldığı için şu anda Özgecan Aslan sembol bir isim oldu. Fakat aynı zamanda yani Türkiye'de kadınların durumlarının yani kadın haklarıyla ilgili çok şey yapılmasının gerektiğini gösteriyor.
They've seen cases like this before. Certainly every now and then a case comes up that really grabs the world's attention and forces people to talk about domestic violence for a week or two.
Türkiye'de maalesef biz belki birçok şeyi çok çabuk unutuyoruz. Biraz yani ülkenin genel olarak belleği unutmaya çok yatkın.
This momentum's going to die, and then what? Then what are we going to do?
Fakat dediğim gibi hani hem yani bilmiyorum belki çok optimist bir bakış açısı olabilir ama ne kadar çok kadın hani bu olaydan rahatsızlık duyup bu konuda bir şey yapmak istiyorsa, harekete geçiyorsa bence bu bir kazanımdır ve bu bir değişimdir. Tabii ki yani kadın haklarıyla ilgili, kadın cinayetleriyle ilgili Türkiye'de yapılması gereken çok şey var. İşte yasaların değişmesi lazım. Yani belki hem kadınların kendi haklarını koruyabilmeleri konusunda daha çok bilinçlenmesi lazım. Hem erkeklerin bu konuda belli adımlar atması lazım. Ama ben değişimin hani yavaş da olsa olduğuna inanıyorum. Burada sadece Türkiye'ye baktığımız için ya da Orta Doğu'ya baktığımız için kadın hakları için çok mücadele edilmesini zaten hep görüyoruz. Fakat aslında gelişmiş olan ülkelerde de, işte Amerika'da da, Avrupa'da da yani kadınların aslında yapması gereken birçok şey var. Hani orada da kadın hakları mükemmel durumda değil ve belki de bilmiyorum burada daha da çok sorun olduğu için ya da bilmiyorum şu anda çok temel sorunlarımız da olduğu için Türkiye'de kadın mücadelesi de daha fazla, belki daha aktif. Ama eminim ki hani Amerika'da da Avrupa'da da kadın mücadelesinin hiç yani durmadan daha da artarak güçlenmesi gerektiğini söyleyebilirim.
Revolutions and social change are made both from below and above.
Kesinlikle yani ayaklanıyorlar bu konuyla ilgili, seslerini çıkartıyorlar. Birçok şeyin değişeceğine inanıyorlar. Bu da belki de aynı zamanda hala umudun var olduğunu gösteren bir şey.
At times, privilege and bias are reproduced, not overcome on Twitter. But still, with 140 characters, you can get your word out there and have your voice heard.
Change has to be multiple. And sometimes it starts with a woman who just says no. Sometimes it starts with a man who kills.
Our hashtags aren't better than we are, and there may be some issues, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't try. It's not about direct comparison. It's about situating diverse movements in the same context, looking at them together side by side.